Look who isn't dead. We're not dead. Look at that. Pandemic kind of takes people off the map, I've found.
Oh my god.
Including me. I'm assuming if you're watching this, you probably already know who we are. I guess if not, and this is your intro, then my name's Mitchell. This channel is my channel, as obvious by the name of the goddamn thing. This is Allie. It's my fiance now. And if you hear any like stray cat meows or like scratching or something like that, or sneezes, that's our cat, and I'm sure she's getting ready to jump up on the table and make herself known. Yeah, but this is the first podcast we've done in
a year and a half.
At least a year and a half.
Yeah.
The last
it's not
one,
quite 2 years yet.
I was gonna say the last one we uploaded was
E3?
July 19th, 2019.
Oh, it was the one after E3.
Yeah, it was the podcast.
Yeah.
The last podcast I uploaded. I did a thing where I reviewed the Watchmen TV series.
Yeah.
But that was just me. I did that independently because nobody I know has watched that show other than
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a good time. I rambled for 40 minutes and looked like a fucking loser.
Your hat was cute.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. You have a loaf.
Oh boy.
It's behind you.
Yeah. Our cat likes to just sit around and wait for things and just look at you for no reason. But yeah, so I guess for a small life update, since it's been almost 2 years, we lived together. We were engaged. That was another thing.
That happened recently.
Yeah, it was
A month ago.
May 1st,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. That was May 1st.
Story time. No, I'm just kidding.
Story
There's
time.
not really much of a story there.
Story time, I did it here and I didn't even really ask the question you're supposed to ask.
And I asked if you were sure.
Yeah, she pulled one of those, the classic, are you sure you want to be with me?
That's not how I said it.
You were starting to cry.
Okay.
Yeah. Alright.
That's normal.
That's true. What else do you think?
I cut my hair off.
Yeah,
All my hair is gone.
wearing a hat, but that's all the hair she has essentially.
I'm really cold. Also, like, it's June 11th.
Yeah.
So, I am in two shirts. I'm wearing a sweatshirt, a shirt, and pajama pants. And
Yeah.
a hat, like a sock cap.
Yeah. You also have not been outside today because holy shit.
Is it hot?
It's hot and muggy.
Yeah.
The way it always is around here. It's like 100% humidity because it always is for no reason.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
great.
somebody told me the dew point was like 71 or something a couple days ago. It is crazy.
There have been times where I've been driving home from work and you can't see anything because fog has completely covered everything around. Like
Well, then we live on kind of like a gradual slope from like the mountains to the river.
Right.
So then you go through these points where there's hills,
Mm-hmm.
and the fog will settle in the hills, but then it'll be like you're driving into the fog at the bottom of the hill, and you're like, oh no.
Well, because I drive over the Kentucky River every day, so that's a
Right there. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes it way worse, I think, because for 10 miles in each direction, you can't see a goddamn thing.
Yeah.
So that's great. But yeah, I mean,
That's about it. Oh, we're moving again.
yeah, we're moving to Richmond whenever we can get that set up to be done.
Basically, whenever I can scan your pay stubs and email it to that lady,
Yeah.
then we're pretty much set.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. Moving again.
On your birthday.
Again.
I did it earlier than that last time.
It was like the week of my birthday.
Yeah, it was June 6th was the day that we moved in.
June 6th?
Yeah, June 26th.
Oh,
My bad.
okay.
Sorry. Not June 6th.
Yeah.
You're like, bitch,
It wasn't that early. Definitely was not that early.
Well, because then I bought the TV.
Right.
Not that long after.
I was gonna say we didn't have. I have an old TV that we put in that we put in our bedroom. Or I used to have it in my bedroom at my parents' house.
And at college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had it in the living room for all of about 3 days.
Well, and then I started making furniture and pulled my back out, and then.
Yeah, that was a whole mess. She pulled her back out, and then like a day later, whenever she bought the other TV and bought the other stand for the TV,
well, you came home at like 2 a.m., which is like a lot sooner than you usually come home. So
I know.
I wanted to have it done by the time you came back.
I know. I came home and caught you after you had hurt your back doing it again. So that was hilariously fun.
I'm an adult.
I know. Boy, that pandemic was a bitch also.
It's not was. It's still very much happening. This is also the first day that's like the mask mandate in our state has lifted.
Right.
So,
it really feels like it's winding down.
I think it's because more and more people are able to go get the vaccine and are actually going to get the vaccine, and then there's the whole dichotomy of like people who don't want to wear a mask, don't want to get a vaccine, but they think that there are people who want to wear masks or have been wearing masks, but they want to go get the vaccine, so they don't have to wear a mask anymore. But then like it's almost shifting, like the people who don't want to wear masks but also don't want to get the vaccine take the lesser of two evils.
Right.
You know, in some crazy conspiracy theory or whatever, but it's getting there.
Yeah. It's definitely better
Not
than
to
it
make
was.
it a politics talk or whatever.
Well, yeah. It's definitely been a lot better. You can definitely feel like the overarching Orwellian nightmare that it was at one point is now definitely not that anymore.
Yeah.
It just feels like we've had a really bad time for a while, and we're actually like getting back on the upswing a bit instead of.
It's coming back to normal.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah.
But it's been nice. Like it's been interesting to see people actually walking around and having no masks on and being able to see people's faces again. And
well, I mean, in our area, it was never really.
Well, I know, but like
people didn't like to wear masks anyways.
Yeah.
But we were in Missouri not 2-3 weeks ago, and nobody wears masks in Missouri.
Yeah, that was funny.
We were like the only people wearing masks in Missouri. We were like.
We all did it once, the group of us. We all had our masks on one time.
Well, because that was when we got there.
Yeah, we walked in.
And not even like because usually you can tell that it's the customers that aren't wearing the mask, but it was like the employees weren't wearing the mask. So we're like, oh.
Shit's different depending on which state you go into.
Yeah, and I mean in Illinois, we had to drive through Illinois to get there.
Right. And
so like everybody in Illinois had like no mask on.
Yeah, it was weird.
I also felt like we like made it out of Illinois with our lives. Because like we stopped at one gas station and I thought I was gonna die. Like I thought I wasn't gonna make it out of the bathroom.
Yeah.
Well, there was also, did I tell you what happened when I was in the bathroom?
You did.
Yeah, like there was this lady who was just like filling up a can or something, like a gas can with water from the sink. And like I came out to wash my hands because there's only ones I came out of the stall to wash my hands, and the lady like looked at me, or she like heard me like flush, and so she like packed up all of her shit, and then she got out. But before she left, she like looked back at me all dramatic like, and I was like,
"What do you want?"
Yes, you know they don't have gasoline in the water.
Yeah.
This is also amongst the gas shortage.
Right.
That people think is all over the U.S. instead of just on the East Coast.
Yeah. I don't know. I know that gas prices have gone up, but after that first like 3 or 4 day scare for everybody, it pretty much has been exactly nothing.
Yeah.
You know, like the fear of that went away very quickly after it happened.
I think people just stopped.
They
just stopped. There's only so many people that like watch news outlets and like panic.
Right.
You know, but the people who do panic are like crazy. Like like they're crazy.
Definitely feels that way most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other life updates before we start talking about not really that relevant kind of shit?
I'm almost done with school. I'm not graduated yet.
Yeah, you're finishing up a summer class and it'll be done.
And I'll be done. And then you start back in January.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be a good time.
I'm so excited.
I know you're excited. You're like, I'm done so we can focus on you. And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. You're not doing very well with that.
Yeah. Oh well. It'll be
Yeah.
alright.
Okay. What do you have planned for us today?
Well, I figured since the last couple times we've talked about Disney stuff.
Yeah.
And specifically like Marvel stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured as kind of like a catch up and rundown of what we've missed since Spider-Man Far From Home came out, which was our last podcast together. You having PTSD memories of that?
No, it just has been a long time.
It has been it's weirdly been a very long time. I can't think of the last time, no, I can think of specifically the last time we went to a movie theater. It was to go see Joker.
Did we see that in theaters?
We did.
Oh.
We did see that in theaters. Because I remember very specifically when we walked out, you were like, boy, that must have been hard for you, huh? You were like, that must have been really weird for you because you could relate to a lot of that. And I was like,
oh.
I feel personally attacked.
I feel like I have anxiety, so I don't remember anything.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Oh, it's also almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah, I don't even remember what I did this morning.
Right.
I had therapy. That's what I had.
That's what
I
you
went
did.
to therapy this morning.
Yeah. I also realized that you got up, did therapy, and then came back to bed, and I didn't think you moved.
I really didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just didn't even realize you were gone.
Yeah, I know.
I think I rolled over at one point and I saw the door was closed and I was like, why is the door closed? I just fell right back to sleep.
Nice. I could have been kidnapped.
I just assumed you were doing something. Or you had gone to the bathroom
Could
and
have been
closed.
kidnapped.
I assumed you had gone to the bathroom and came back and just closed the door so the cat wouldn't bother us when we were going to sleep. See what I'm saying? You just have to mention her and she'll be all over
She's
getting attention.
dramatic.
So, I figured we could go thing by thing. Excuse me. I figured we'd go thing by thing.
Okay.
And kind of get a rundown of our thoughts and opinions of how we feel on just the general, I guess, the general thoughts. And if you want to talk about like real spoilers, we can do that as well. Sorry, too busy petting our cat in the window here because that's our favorite spot for some reason. I don't know it.
So that she can see.
Yeah, we set a chair aside for her so she could get up here and be on our level, but she's not very fond of that apparently. So,
oh, hey yo! I didn't even see her.
Yeah. So I figured we'd start with timeline order.
Okay.
Mandalorian.
Oh God, that's what we're starting with?
I figured we'd start there. Yes, the Grogu hoodie. Yes.
Courtesy of Old Navy.
Mm-hmm. So, Mandalorian specifically, I thought was really fun.
Yeah, it kept your attention.
Yeah. I think the first season I had some problems with.
Oh, the second season was so much better than the first.
No, I know. I was going to say, I felt like I had a lot of problems with the first season because it felt like a lot of filler.
Yeah.
And then you had like the main plot episode.
Yeah.
Like they I think the three, like 5, 6, and 7, those episodes were, it felt like filler to me in a way that was like, we might get back to this, but because this is in a vacuum and we're watching this 1 week at a time, it's not like the first couple episodes where it's like, holy shit, the first episode, there's a goddamn baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy, right? Like, that's, at the time, that was...
It started hard and fast.
Right, and then you go through the plot stuff, but then when you get to, like, he goes to the farming planet, it's just kind of like you are falling off a cliff and kind of bored.
Yeah, but I think that it's not uncharacteristic of Star Wars TV shows. You know, like if you really think it, because this is the first Star Wars TV show that's been
live action.
Yeah. So when you go back and you look at things like the Clone Wars or even Rebels or something like that, I think it's very characteristic of and of a Star Wars TV show. But I think that it's the way that we watched it too, because when we watched Clone Wars, we sat down and we watched it over and over and over and over and over. You know, like we sat and watched it for like 4 hours.
Well, because we started watching after the final season came out. We didn't even start Clone Wars until that had already wrapped up.
Well, I had seen it before.
Yeah, I had seen bits and pieces of it when it was on like Cartoon Network.
Right.
But I had never like actually sat down and watched all the episodes in a row.
It was kind of like, oh my god, Star Wars, and then it was like a little like story.
Right.
You know, you could never connect the dots because you're a little kid. You know?
Well, and a lot of times they'd have one episode at a time, maybe 2 back to back. But rarely, I feel like rarely were they ever the episodes that like went together, or they never like the Star Wars, the Clone Wars TV series is very much like it has individual like 4 to 5 episode arcs sometimes, and then sometimes they've got just like, here's the droid episode.
Yeah.
You know, so it's hard to piece that all together whenever you're only watching 1 or 2 episodes at a time.
Well, and I think that was the problem with Mandalorian when we watched it, is because like now, I bet if we went back and rewatched it now, we would have been like, beautiful, amazing, chef's kiss. You know, but it's because we can sit and watch the entire season in, 1 to 3 days.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say, is that at the time I had a bigger problem with it because, like, when they introduced, like, Cara Dune, that's on that farming planet, and you kind of just, you're like, okay, so we're seeing, like, the remnants of the Empire, and that's cool, but then it's a lot of farming people, and we're introduced to Cara Dune, which is important, but at the time, that's just 1 episode by itself.
Yeah.
And it's hard to put that into context and like get anything more than just we're on a farming planet from that.
Yeah.
But then when it zooms out and you see the whole picture, and she becomes such a large character in the overarching plot of The Mandalorian, you start to understand where it's going and what's going on.
Yeah.
And then I feel like season 2
was awesome, even on watching it week by week.
Well, because I feel like they had really distilled down what the problems were with season 1. Where it was like...
Well, I don't know if they realized how much of a hit it was going to be.
Right. That too. I think that's
I knew that they... Like, I bet that they kind of figured, they were like, no, this is going to be big because it's a Star Wars thing, and it's a time period that we're not exactly have seen before.
Yeah.
Like, it happens... When
it happens after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. So, it's in a time period that we haven't necessarily seen before.
Right. So...
it's new and it's different, but I think with, all of these since the new movies came out, and then there's just a whole new generation of Star Wars people.
Right.
And so you have the whole, capitalizing on Baby Yoda.
Right. Yeah, it started its own kind of sect of the Star Wars fandom.
Yeah.
Which I feel like was really raised on Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like some people, it's kind of the same thing when you have, it's almost like a child that is interested in a TV show, but it's...
Right.
They're only really interested in it for one reason.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're kids, but I mean, these are, adults.
Right.
That are like, oh my god, Baby Yoda! And it's just, not to, gatekeep or anything like that, because everybody deserves to enjoy Star Wars however they want to do it, but I'm just talking about, the popularity of it reached even farther than just people who like Star Wars.
Well, and I think, to your point of a whole new generation of Star Wars fans being raised on that TV show, the original trilogy happened in the 70s, or at the end of the 70s and the beginning of the 80s. So that's, our parents' generation of Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
That's the original generation of Star Wars fans. And then, in between the end of Return of the Jedi, and then whenever Phantom Menace comes out, there's like a whole kind of drop-off point where people that were in their 20s by the time Phantom Menace came out didn't care.
Yeah.
You know, like there was an intervening time where Star Wars kind of dropped off the map because there just wasn't much other than like some stray TV shows and specials and stuff like that. But then the prequels come out, and that raises anybody who would have been in middle school or below. So basically anybody that's in the millennial generation and is almost 30 or above 30 now, that's their Star Wars, and that's what they get raised on, and that creates all the different...
What they raise their kids on.
Right. But then, like, you also have to realize that Revenge of the Sith came out in 2005.
Yeah.
Like, you were 6 years old in 2005.
Yeah.
That's not old enough for you to really know what's going on, and like, it's hard for people that are that young, because I was only 7.
Yeah.
And I didn't even go see any of those in theaters.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not something that, unless you had the DVD, you would have been able to consciously understand until you were old enough to be able to really react to what movies and TV shows are.
Yeah, I think what I really meant is like, because my dad is somebody who just likes to rewatch things. Like, he's the one who got me into Marvel, and I believe he's also the one that got me into Star Wars.
Right.
Because he would just like watch stuff in the living room, and I would just come out of my room. My dad would just be chilling on like a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, what are you watching? And he's just like, I'm watching Star Wars. And it's like, okay, can I sit with you? And he's like, yeah. So then we would just watch it together.
Yeah.
So that's what I kind of mean on, like, they raise their kids on that.
Right.
Is that, like, yeah, when Revenge of the Sith came out, I was only 6 years old. I wasn't watching Star Wars when I was 6 years old.
Right.
You know, it's more of, like, when our parents were watching it, when it came on, like, whatever TV show, whatever TV channel they were watching at the time, it was more like, hey, can I sit and watch that with you?
Right.
Which is why, like, I have such a fondness for Iron Man, is because that's the very first Marvel movie I ever watched.
Right.
You know? So...
Well, I mean to lead into the Clone Wars TV show, because I think
that really was, like, our niche.
Well, because that's when we were old enough to consciously want to watch Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it was new content. So it was like...
Well, they came out with, like, video games, too.
Right. Like the Lego Star Wars saga on the Wii.
And on the DS.
Right.
I don't know if that's an adaptation of the one that's on the Wii, but, like...
It's probably, like, a dumbed-down version because it's the DS.
Maybe. But they also had an actual Star Wars, the Clone Wars...
Yeah.
DS game.
Right.
And I tried to buy it off of this dude on eBay, and
it didn't
work. I'm big sad about it. He gave me my $9 back, though.
Yeah. Nice of him.
Yeah, right? I was just like, hey, this doesn't work. And he's like, you can keep the game.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want the fucking game.
Yeah.
What?
Wants attention.
She wants me to scratch her neck.
But, like, so Mandalorian comes out, and it's got all these plot threads that you can recognize from, like, Star Wars, the Clone Wars, and from the different movies and stuff like that. And because whenever the Mandalorian starts, I'm 21 and you're 20.
Yeah.
So you can actually get into something at that age, and we would be of the group that would be buying merchandise and going out to, it was a cultural, impactful thing.
It was a moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it is with the WandaVision and
the
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I always call it Captain Falcon. It always
I thought you were going to say Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Well.
Which is what it is, but...
Right, but...
I feel like I look emo. I'm taking this off.
Okay. But since we're of the age in which we can consciously go out and see these things...
And it means something to us.
Right.
You know, it's not just kind of like, oh, it's a Star Wars movie.
Right.
You know, it's like, no, this is... we're also nerds, so
yeah,
like
that's a prerequisite.
Yeah.
You know? It was, and especially season 2, I think, because it leans so much more on the larger, overarching Star Wars plot details.
Yes, yeah.
I think it just hits so much more because, like, when Ahsoka shows up and she's got the white lightsabers, and she looks amazing.
Yeah.
And that whole deal is
and Luke shows up.
Right. The ending is Luke Skywalker showing up.
Well, the ending is it Boba or Jango?
Oh, Boba Fett taking over the Hutt.
Yeah. The Hutt clan.
Right, but like that's the big climax of the season is Luke Skywalker showing up.
Yeah, and
like,
everybody freaking out thinking that Sebastian Stan was going to be Luke.
Right, there were rumors of that.
Luke in his Chanel boots.
Right. But when it turns out to be actually Mark Hamill.
Yeah, just like...
It lends so much more weight to it.
Yeah.
In the way that him showing up in 7, 8, and 9 did. Even though you can have your problems with 7, 8, and 9, and I'm not here to debate that because I like those movies, but I'm not arguing that they're excellent films or anything like that because they've got so many problems and they're so like disjointed.
You could say that about every single trilogy of the Star Wars.
Yeah, you can have your favorite, but it's kind of silly to argue
originals over prequels or prequels over.
Well, it just becomes a semantics argument because different people watch Star Wars for different reasons and different things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like my friends Josh and Caleb, we used to go back and forth on prequels versus originals all the time, and really in my mind it just boils down to what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is. But I thought Mandalorian was fantastic.
Yeah.
And it really started I think it was the perfect setup for the idea of.
It's just me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it's me.
I thought it was the cat.
No, it's me.
I thought she was nudging over against my leg to get her to get her to be petted.
Mm-hmm.
But are you okay?
Can you pick her up?
Yeah. Appearance of the cat.
Yeah. Say hello.
She's probably going to be able to see herself in the mirror we've set up behind the camera to make sure that the camera is still working.
Also, she has not a thought behind her eyes.
No.
We've realized this recently.
It's just curiosity. That's all it is.
No thought, only desire.
Right. But I think one of the greatest things about The Mandalorian is that it started the culture of, hey, it's Friday, it's fucking TV show day.
Yeah.
Like, and that was the fun part about all that because I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Monday through Thursday.
Yeah, Monday through Thursday. I apologize. I work Monday through Thursday.
He gets home at 6 a.m. on Fridays.
Right. So then I'm excited to wake up after I've taken my nap for the day.
I usually never have class on Fridays.
Right. So that was just like prime time.
Our day.
Let's watch something. Let's watch the new thing that's out this week.
And then it also fosters a debate between us.
Yeah.
Not a debate, but a discussion.
Yeah. That's one of the things that always is fun about us getting to watch things on Friday is that we're both conscious and excited, so we actually start talking about what we're watching.
Yeah.
You know, and that's been a really good time. Not a thought behind those eyes.
He's so excited. He's so excited to be included.
But moving off of Mandalorian, because Mandalorian, I think we both really enjoyed.
It's a scratch so bad. What's a scratch?
Itchy face, I suppose.
No more collar has itch face.
WandaVision.
Oh, loved it.
WandaVision was a whole deal.
110% recommend. Please go watch it.
Right, because I feel like Mandalorian was standing on its own 2 feet because the greater Star Wars culture had so many problems with the movies that had been coming out, 7, 8, and 9, that it fractured the fan base in a way that Mandalorian...
People were gatekeeping and
Right.
Still to this date, I have my own problems with the sequels, but it seems to be, I'm outnumbered. I have my own, I think it's just because like I'm either like not observational enough to pick on the nuances that were within the film, or the change in directors mid-trilogy was really like just kind of on my brain.
That's 100% what I feel like it had to have been.
Okay.
Because to me that was also my problem, is that, and it's so hard because you're comparing it to Marvel because it's the same company.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
it's like you can do this with Marvel, why can't you do this with Star Wars?
Why wasn't there an overarching story plot?
Why wasn't
outline?
a thought carried out?
Why
was there no thought?
Why was there not a skeleton of what the story was going to be from the jump?
Because it's not like what's his face?
J.J. Abrams?
No, George Lucas.
Right.
Like he likes to say that when he made the first Star Wars movie, he had all of the movies planned out. But like when you're really thinking about it, there's no way. But anyways, there's not that like excuse of like this is the first of its kind.
Right.
We're gonna just kind of, we have a budget of like what, less than $500,000. Something like that about trying to make a blockbuster film, you know, and there's so many reasons why. There's so many reasons.
In the window, by the way,
reasons.
in case you can see that.
There's so many reasons why you can have issues with, you know, the original trilogy or even like the prequels because of the way that it had to have happened. You have to put it in the context of when they were made. But for these three movies specifically, they knew they were going to make three of them. They knew that they were going to have the same people. And they knew that it was going to be big.
Right.
Because this is the first thing that they had done with Star Wars since Disney bought it.
Right.
So...
like, say what you will about the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Say what you will. At least
they're probably almost all of them valid.
They all fit together.
Yeah.
There was no, like, we get to Attack of the Clones and then they realize, oh shit, let's do a 180.
Yeah.
Like, Revenge of the Sith isn't, oh man, nobody likes the whole clone thing, let's just pretend it didn't happen. Or let's just pretend that whatever we said during Attack of the Clones meant nothing.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Which, again, have your squabbles about that where you will. But that's why, like, the fracturing of the fan base and then the...
which people still argue about it to this day.
Right, but the coalescence of everybody coming around Mandalorian.
Yeah, I don't think anybody had a real problem with Mandalorian from any side of it.
You can have your own... Mandalorian's a very solid series.
Yeah.
It's very well thought out and well planned, and they know what they want, which is why it was so popular and so many different versions of the Star Wars fan base all came around it and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Which is how I felt about WandaVision.
Yeah.
It wasn't...
because we didn't get Black Widow.
Well, yeah, but I just mean more along the lines of, like, there's a plan. You know that this is all leading to something because you have that faith in Marvel.
Well, and like even when we were watching it, it was kind of like, what the fuck? Like what is this? Why is this the way it is? Like what is going on? But then once, not a thought.
Swear to God, we don't use catnip. I promise.
She doesn't like it.
Yeah, weirdly, I don't know why.
She has her scratch board has catnip in it, but like.
Good Lord. I'm so glad I took her bell off, or else this would be torture.
Yeah, but I think she's freaked out because she doesn't have her bell. I think that's what's going on.
I might.
But we're also doing something, so she has to be the center of attention. She can't ever just chill the fuck out.
Right.
But I totally thought.
We're talking about WandaVision and moments like
week to week, it was really, you could feel it start to unravel. You know, but like if you watch it all together, it makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
It makes complete sense. It you can see where it goes, you can see the arc, you can see how it all fits together, and like yeah, maybe there are things wrong with it, you know, but like it's an enjoyable story.
Right.
And you really fall in love with the characters all over again. You really feel something for the characters. And that was only in a TV show.
Right.
You know? And I know it's almost easier to plan a TV show than it is a trilogy of movies.
Oh, yeah.
But like, I feel like the process has got to be the same.
But I also think that they fit it into the universe in the same way that you would have to with writing a trilogy of movies, because WandaVision ends in a way that you clearly know is going to be picked up
by a movie.
And we already know which. Yeah, we already know that Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness ties into WandaVision. And you can clearly see that. So even if you didn't know that was what it was going to tie into, you could watch that series and go, this isn't over, this is going somewhere.
Yeah, but you don't, it's almost like you don't want another season.
Kind of.
You know?
Well,
like, because you know that,
for it.
right, and you know that the story is going to be continued.
Right.
But it doesn't want another season.
Right.
You know?
In kind of the opposite way that Falcon and the Winter Soldier feels like they could do 10 seasons.
Yeah.
They could do 10 seasons of that.
They opened up so many things, which was...
Sorry.
Which was scary.
Flashbang just went off, apparently.
Which was kind of, you know, annoying week to week. Watching it, it's just like, where are they going? Like, what are they trying to accomplish here?
Right.
Like, who is the bad guy? You know? But I think that was the point.
Well, but unfortunately for them as well, there was an entire plot line they had to cut completely out of the series. Because when they were making it, they had a world virus plot line. Yeah.
Yeah, that's in bad taste.
Yeah. But they had already had that set in stone before COVID happened. So then as they were filming and COVID started coming around, they were like, let's not put that in.
Well, because everybody did it.
Right.
Everybody did, like, any TV show had a pandemic moment. Like, I mean, Grey's Anatomy had a pandemic moment.
I was going to say,
The Good Doctor had a pandemic moment. Like,
yeah. Well, and from what I heard, it was definitely not something that would have been done in good taste.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, especially with everything that surrounded COVID, like all of the different conspiracy theories and all the different scandals of certain government entities and things like that. Like, I know the way that they probably would have done that, and it would have just started a complete forest fire. Well,
because they're already in an they're already in an East Asian city in Madripoor.
A fictional East Asian city, but yes.
Right,
but it does,
allegories could be made up immediately.
Exactly.
Like, it wouldn't have taken a stretch for people to go like, oh, well, you're saying that this is China or something like that. And then that's a whole fucking firestorm that did not need to happen. So for what it is and for what it was, I think the relationships in that series were fantastic.
Yeah, it was a fantastic series.
And getting to see the interactions with everybody was fun.
Well, interactions with people that we didn't really get to see.
Right.
You know, like these are two people that, you know, we see Bucky, who has been in movie after movie after movie, but this is his story.
Right.
This is him really living with the aftermath of being the Winter Soldier, you know. And before we it was almost like he was exploited for being the Winter Soldier, you know. Like he was a weapon, and that's how both the Avengers and Hydra used him.
Right.
You know? So now it's more like he's getting back into the world on his own terms. Mm-hmm. And that was really important for us to see. And then you have Sam, who we never, like, really get to have a full focus on him. You know, like, of course we know that he's on Captain America's team, and he's a part of the Captain America 4 and all that other stuff. But, like, we don't really get to know a lot about him and where he comes from.
Right.
Like, we really only know that he's a vet. He had the wings and was going on secret ops missions. He lost his partner, you know, like, and he formed a bond with Captain America that I think can be akin to Bucky's, you know, in a different way. But
similar dependence and
and
respect for each other too is what I think those relationships were so foundationally dependent on was because they had so much trust in each other to be able to do each other, like they could do their job and get through a situation and a crisis, because in all of the movies, like including Civil War, Captain America's thrown into these awful situations that no matter which way you slice it, it's a terrible way to go about things.
Yeah.
But you have his entire
He's
arc.
got to do it.
Well, his entire arc is sticking to your belief system when you know you're right.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a hard thing for them to all go through, but it made them stronger in the end, and it formed their bonds so much tighter.
Yeah. Well, and then them finally feeling like they're at least some semblance of a team, and then Endgame happens.
Right.
And they had been, and that's the other thing, is that I kind of forget that they've all been kind of living off the grid.
Right.
For years at that point.
Yeah, when they show up in Infinity War, you don't realize it, but they've been
together for years.
Yeah, they had been on the run essentially at that point for I think 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Like, basically from the end of Civil War to when they show up in Infinity War, they are on the lam in Europe just trying to not get arrested somewhere.
Yeah, still trying to do good, but like
right.
on the low.
Right.
Yeah, and I think I forget a lot of that because I'm just kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that us getting to see the fallout.
Yeah.
Of, because I mean, Captain America was the linchpin.
Right.
You know. Aside from Tony Stark, you know, but like Captain America was the linchpin in this entire team, especially those group of 4 to 5 people who were on his team. So I think that without him, it just kind of and they don't go into detail of whether or not like Cap is actually dead.
I think that's gotta happen. They're going to have something to do with that later at some point.
Yeah, there's a lot of like different theories that people have come out with where, you know, he's not dead and he's just kind of chilling and he's gonna come back. And I think
there was the rumor that the series was gonna start with Captain America's funeral.
Yeah, yeah, and they hinted at that in the handing over the shield.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were all like, no.
Right.
No. And then we realized it wasn't Steve's funeral, he was just handing over the shield, and then we were still like, no. Like, this is not what we wanted. But this is also not what we wanted.
Well, but I think that him being able to explore the mixed emotions of what the shield means during the entire series. Like, I'm not kidding, I cried at the Isaiah Bradley stuff.
Oof.
And I get choked up sometimes thinking about it, because it's so emotionally investing, and you care so much because you know that that's... Isaiah Bradley is the fictional representation of millions of people's...
systemic racism.
Well, and just the plight of millions of people in general. It doesn't even have to necessarily be black people. It could be anybody. Anybody that was essentially left out of society and treated as less than.
But I think taking into account that arc and the things that he said and the relationship that kind of bloomed between him and Sam. Yeah. It is about race. It is specifically about black people and systemic racism
100%,
and them being like Isaiah Bradley was the original Captain America. Yeah. He was a black man who they experimented on to get the super soldier serum, and then something awful happened, and he was the only survivor. Yeah. And so then they just started pumping his blood to be making more super soldier serum, and that would eventually lead to Cap. Yeah. You know? No? Different thing?
No, you got it flipped. Cap was first.
Yes. Sorry. I forget that Captain America takes place in 45, and then
Isaiah Bradley was like 54.
Yeah.
Because he's a Korean War vet.
Okay. Yeah. So then I get that flip. So then they have Steve, and then they lose.
But
Anyways,
don't quote me on it. I was going to say, don't quote me on it, but I'm fairly certain that they hint that the serum that Howard Stark has in Civil War comes from Isaiah Bradley.
Oh, really?
The ones that make the second version of the Winter Soldiers. I think, and I might be wrong, if I remember correctly, they had hinted at one point that the way that Howard Stark had gotten the ability to synthesize it was because he had gotten it from Isaiah Bradley's DNA testing. But don't quote me on that because I can't remember exactly. But
yeah, that wouldn't be surprising.
It wouldn't
for
be.
the time.
Yeah, it wouldn't be.
It's still, but I think like saying that the whole Isaiah Bradley arc was, you know, for all people who are kind of like outcasts in society really takes away from the moment that was had by the end of the series. By the end of the series, with Sam's speech and what he did for Isaiah and him actually getting the recognition and him being able, and the incorporation of Isaiah's grandson. Yeah. Like, I think that and you know, I'm white, so like it felt, especially with the climate that it came out in, it felt like people were actually doing something.
Well, and I definitely don't mean to downplay the specific race discussion they have in that is definitely geared towards the plight of black people in America. And I definitely do not mean to, I know that that's 100% what it was, but it was such a relatable story in that you didn't have to be a black person, you didn't have to be marginalized in that way to understand what they're going through and why it was so impactful in their lives and why Sam felt like he had to respect Isaiah's wishes, but also he had to tell Isaiah, like, I can't rule my life based on what you say, because if I don't do this, then that gets rid of the possibility that this could ever be anything other than what it is now.
Right.
You know? And that's why I think it was such a good relationship storyline, because you have to deal with the fact that Isaiah Bradley has one of the most horrific stories you can think of, and then his words ring so true that Sam really is like, I kind of feel like I can't do this because of this. Like, he really has to struggle with the fact that that shield essentially helped create the climate in which Isaiah Bradley was treated that way. You know? And that's a big thing to wrestle with. And if they didn't address any of that, I feel like the show would have felt a lot more hollow than it was.
Yeah, and I think coming from, you know, two very privileged white people.
Oh yeah.
It almost, because we will never, ever understand what it's like to be black in America. We will never understand it. At the same time, it almost felt like, at least for me personally, I could see my friends. Yeah. You know, like when Sam was talking, I could visualize my friends and the people that I've gotten to know over time, and even the people on the news, you know? Yeah. Like this is what it means. You know, because we can talk all day about, like, you know, oh, it's just superheroes, it's just, you know, like, it's fiction, you know, they shouldn't be do all this stuff, and I'm like, but like, Tony Stark is a perfect example of, like, politics breeding superheroes with a thirst for justice at any cost, you know, and to almost put that exact same feeling, but in the context of systemic racism, specifically in America, it's a game changer. And I think it makes it, for one, I think it allows us a little piece. Like a little piece of slight understanding, but even more to just see. Right. You know? And you know, trying to be good allies is always something that's really, really difficult. But I'm sure that you can go to other people's podcasts or other people's reviews who are POC and figure out how they felt about it, and it's a lot better than this shit show that we're trying to this that we're trying to explain here.
If you're looking for a great perspective, the Kind of Funny MCU and Review podcast is something I listen to a lot. And they had special guest Paris Lilly on to do the review with them for Captain America and Winter Soldier. And they reviewed every episode, and it really meant a lot to him. You could really tell that was a very impactful thing. And I thought what they all talked about summed it up in a better way than I probably ever could.
Yeah.
You know, and that was important.
But yeah, go check those people out, because it means so much more coming from them than it ever will coming from us.
Yeah. Second hand is not. It's not the same. But,
anyways.
Well, I was gonna say something I felt a lot during the series was that you could really feel the dichotomies between the different versions of Captain America that was presented.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it always felt like Steve Rogers was the Captain America that we kind of didn't deserve, but we needed at the time, and he really brought us through a lot of the hard shit. And then John Walker really felt like the Captain America we really deserved.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, he felt like the Captain America that, like...
Like, if that had actually happened in USA in 2020... Yeah. That's exactly how it would have played out.
I was gonna say
That's exactly how it would have been.
It felt like the post-war in Iraq, 9/11, Patriot Act, all the way leading up into Trump campaign and everything that has to do with the last 20 years of America. John Walker felt like it was the perfect representation of what
especially what was going on when it actually came out with George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah.
It was...
Yeah. But in a weird way, you can also feel like, at his core, John Walker wasn't the worst person in the world.
Right.
Because, like, whenever Battlestar gets murdered...
Lamar.
Yeah, whenever Lamar gets murdered...
They did him so dirty in that show.
They did.
They did him so dirty.
Yeah.
He deserved to be the new Captain America.
Yeah. He was fantastic. But, like, whenever he gets murdered, and then they have the conversation the next episode with Carly, and she goes, "Your friend's life didn't matter to my cause," and John Walker returns with he didn't matter, and that, like, you can really feel like the words were put there very specifically for that reason, because, like, there are times where in causes like that, people say shit like that can really mean way more than they ever intended to.
You see Carly's mental state and her mantra change throughout the series, because you're like, at first you're like, oh no, this makes sense. Like, you're almost on her side about it a little bit, because you're just like, oh yeah, no, people are displaced, and like, and then they started getting into, but we should have gone back to with the things that, the way things were in the blip. We should get rid of all these people, and da-da-da. We should blow up a fucking
she blew
school,
up, she blew up that building with people inside of it, and you're like, okay, this is flipped entirely.
No, this is not, and you can see that after her mentor dies. The person who really gave her position, she dies. Yeah. And then Carly's just kind of like, I don't have anything else to live for. The only thing I have to live for is this cause, and that means I will do anything humanly possible to get this cause off the ground and get people to actually listen to me. And it's,
I think...
And Sam is pulling for her the entire time.
Right.
He's pulling for her the entire time. But I think that's more of his therapist kind of like side of him coming out, where he thinks he can save her.
Well, and what I was going to say was, I feel like by the end of it, Sam is the Captain America that we need now.
Yeah.
In modern day, that's the Captain America that the world needs.
Yeah.
And I watched this interview with Anthony Mackie yesterday, and he was talking.
He's such a cool dude.
He is a very
Anthony
cool
Mackie
dude.
is such a cool dude.
Cut the check. Oh my god, I love those videos. But he was talking about. You've got a cool new update background on her. On her, what is it? A MacBook?
It says it on the screen, babe.
Sorry. He was talking in an interview yesterday that I saw. And he was saying that he had a friend who is a teacher for special needs kids. And one of the special needs kids was on the playground doing pull-ups on the monkey bars. And she walks up to him and she's like, "You're gonna hurt yourself, what are you doing?" And the kid turns to her and goes, "Captain America looks like me now. I need to get in shape in case he needs my help." And I was like, oh my heart, oh God. Yeah. It's just little things like that.
You don't realize because we're not kids anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't realize there's those things that are like, yeah, I'm gonna like.
Right. The impact that has on different people's lives is crazy. Because and this is coming from the privileged perspective of 99% of the people that I would like in a TV or a movie series look like me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's just kind of inherently the way it goes because that's just the way that it's been. And there are plenty of reasons for that. But having the diversity of Sam Wilson, Captain America, and when you see him for the first time in the full suit,
he just deserves it because people are like, "Well, why are you Bucky?" And I'm like, "Bucky is Captain America."
Well, and he didn't want it.
Yeah,
that's the other thing.
Yeah,
like,
Sam didn't really want it either. But
well, I think by the end of it, you can feel the duty that he feels.
Yeah, but it's almost he almost, and I think he says this throughout the series, is that he doesn't want to replace Steve.
Right.
He wants to be his own person. Right. And I think you get that.
Right.
I think you understand how he feels at the end of it because you can understand you're like, oh.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that the media within the actual within the MCU kind of got that. They're like, oh my god,
yeah.
But with the difference of decision making between Steve and Sam, it's, you know that he's still Captain America, but he remains Sam.
Right.
You know, there's like all of my things are going down.
Yeah.
This update looks great.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts on Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
No, it was great.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it a lot.
I'm interested in just seeing what their next season's gonna be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they did confirm a second season, didn't they?
I cannot remember at this time.
I think they did.
Okay.
Now that we have
now that we have the capability to use Safari again, we might as well Google it. Well, while you're looking,
I need to plug it in.
Yeah, while you are looking at that, I guess the next thing on the docket would have been Loki, technically. If we're sticking with the Marvel stuff for a minute. Because we'll finish with Bad Batch, because the newest episode of Bad Batch came out today when we're recording this. What did you feel about the first episode of Loki?
Sorry, I just pulled up this, and it says, Falcon and the Winter Soldier gets a new title with Season 2 implications. Will Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan write again?
Oh, they did confirm Captain America 4 with the same writer of the TV show and...
Oh, I didn't know that.
I remember telling you that at the finale of the TV show, there was a lot of news articles that had confirmed that they didn't put it in the Phase 4.
Oh my god, are we gonna fucking talk about Sharon? That fucking bitch? Is it Sharon or Shannon? Sharon, yeah.
Sharon didn't really do much for me in the TV show.
She pissed me off.
Yeah.
All of those people saying that, like, the villains always have anything other than an iPhone, they were so fucking right. Ugh!
Yeah. Sharon didn't do much for me. I thought she was kind of just like there to be there. She's clearly set up for something more important later on, but because that's not here yet, and they kind of like they revealed she was the power broker, and then the post-credit scene for the series was, hey, she's the power broker. It's like, thanks.
Yeah, I just like, it just made me mad.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a wrong.
What?
I'm reading. I can't talk and read at the same time.
Sorry. What is that?
Between this and the already increasing crowded roster of upcoming Marvel TV shows on Disney Plus, we wouldn't expect the Falcon and the Winter Soldier Season 2 or Captain America and the Winter Soldier to arrive until mid-2022 at the earliest. So they haven't come out with an official release date.
Yeah, that's the safe stuff.
Okay.
Well, because we've got such a long slate of things coming next that it's hard to fit them in anywhere soon.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I've been seeing so many Oscar Isaac Moon Knight training videos.
I remember you saying something about that.
Yeah. That's gonna be an interesting one. And then, well, let's get to Loki before we talk about the future of the MCU Disney Plus shows. So, what did you think of the first episode of Loki? Sorry.
I'm trying to remember how that romantic music goes.
Demonetized.
It's a meme at this point. Is it really gonna get demonetized?
We never monetized to begin with.
I can't wait until you edit this.
Right.
Whoa, hello Safari.
Oh yeah, there's a new update for Safari. What did you think of the first episode of Loki?
It was good. I liked it. I think it hit me in my little sentimental spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like I kind of always felt like there was no really deepness to Loki until we got into the later Thor movies.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just when we're starting to get into them actually becoming brothers and him being set up to be a good guy fucking dies.
Right.
And I cried. Oh my goodness. So it's just like I'm glad because it's almost like a little redemption, which makes me really, really happy.
I realized, so we watched it before I went to work on Wednesday. And while I was at work, I kind of realized that I wasn't super excited by it. And I felt that way because it kind of felt like I knew everything that was happening in that first episode.
Mm.
And then as it was going on, I was like, I kind of just want this to ramp up in some way. And I want this to become something more than it is already, because I felt like by the time at the end of the first episode, we were at the place that I wanted them kind of to be significantly earlier in the show. Because I liked all the interactions with Loki and Owen Wilson's character. I thought all of I thought all of that was really good.
Mm.
I just kind of, there was just a bit of a slow burn to it.
Mm-hmm.
That while I enjoyed it in WandaVision, I kind of, throughout even the first episode of WandaVision, there's this like, what the fuck is happening? What's going on? What are we doing? As opposed to the Loki TV series, which in my mind,
it's all set up.
Yeah, in my mind, having watched Umbrella Academy, I was like, you don't really have to explain a time cop situation here. All the really interesting explanations happen in the one animated video of the clock telling us about the sacred timeline. And then after that, it's kind of just this really annoying beat cop level character trying to exterminate Loki.
Yeah.
And I'm...
She was going for the kill, too.
I know, like...
She was really about to decapitate him.
I know. The entire time I'm just kind of sitting there like, isn't Owen Wilson's character way more important than this person?
Yeah.
Can he not pull rank in any way? Is there no way to tell her that, hey, this is now stamped my person that I'm gonna take over here and you can't fuck with me? You know what I mean? I just kind of, it was one of those things where like, and I heard the criticism of this on a lot of the other TV shows, where all of the main Marvel characters that would show up in the movies feel like they're on a completely different level than all the other actors who feel like they're in a TV show. You know what I mean? I just kind of felt like that throughout the Loki premiere more than I have in anything else so far. And I think a lot of that has to do with just like the action in it didn't really exist. So
I'm about to get her.
yeah.
Excuse me.
Like, I don't know. I think that just there was nothing that really caught me by surprise or really, really excited me in any way. Because, granted, it's just the first episode, and I understand that I'm probably just being myopic, and that by the time we hit episode 3, I'll probably be like, I love this show, it's great, I'm going to watch the rest of it for the rest of the time, and it'll be awesome.
Well, you're also one of those people, like, they say that there's, like 32 storylines that are all in modern film, and once you see all of them, they're really easy to spot, and you're always that person who can kind of, like, see a movie before it happens.
Right.
You know, you see the first 5 minutes, and you're like, I tell you exactly, like the Venom movie.
Yeah.
You knew exactly how it was going to happen.
Right.
You know? So I feel like you almost, like, want to be right so bad that you kind of miss enjoying the show.
I just, like when they show what seems to be the living tribunal but isn't, the 3 characters that are supposed to be keeping the sacred timeline in order.
The Keepers.
Right. I was like, this is just going to be a Wizard of Oz situation, isn't it?
Oh,
Where,
I
like,
didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's what was bothering me.
But I was saying, they were like, oh, we're hunting you. Like,
yeah.
But as soon as I saw the stained glass window of the devil, I was like, somebody's framing Loki. Like, somebody's got to be framing him. Like, there's no way that, you know, he is doing this. Well, and you were like, but that's what they said. And I was like, you're really going to take what they said for realsies?
Well, and I liked the moment of, well, we're hunting you, and you get the scene of the hooded figure killing the agents.
But I also thought, I was like, this just doesn't feel like Loki. Like, it doesn't feel like this could be him.
It's just weird. It's hard based on the first episode to really get a judgment of how good or bad it's going to be, because it kind of doesn't give you enough information that you didn't already know was going to happen to make any sort of judgments on where it's going to go. It's the most stuck in the mud beginner to any of the seasons that we've had, even including The Mandalorian, which is fine. I'm not saying that it's not going to be good. It's just, it kind of is what it is, and it wasn't super interesting to me in that way.
I liked it, though. I like being able to see Loki kind of, like, break himself down. Right. Because he was on this constant quest for power, and even though he still always had his family to fall back on. Like, he always had at least one person. He always had either Odin or Freya or Thor to fall back on, and they would always take him back because they're like, we love him and we know that he's just...
Yeah. That's my son. That's my brother.
He was just, you know, misunderstood or all this thing. And in the first couple of Thor movies, you're just like, what the fuck? What do you mean? You know? But then as you keep going and as we lose Odin and as we lose Freya, we can see that he really does cherish them. Right. And the whole point of everything that he's ever done is to just prove himself. Right. You know, when in reality they always knew who he was. He never had to prove himself because they already knew. Right. You know? And so now it kind of feels like it's not so much his redemption arc. Yeah. It's more like him finding himself and almost being worthy of the second chance that he has. to be doing all this.
And I like the scene that they have where he's watching his life.
Yeah.
Where he's watching what happens to him play out, and that would change somebody. I did feel like if he had really seen that going into all those things, and especially when like the sun will rise on us again, brother. That really felt like a.
But they didn't say that in the episode.
No, but just
missed chance.
Right.
I felt like if he saw that moment again, he would be like, you know, it would almost have been like, dun dun dun, you know, like that would have been the stepping off point.
Yeah, I was gonna say weirdly in that scene, I felt the emotion of it, but it could have been
so much more.
It never kicked into that higher gear where you're like, wow, I'm gonna cry. Because Loki's having this really emotional, impactful moment, and it kind of just like, it felt like, hey, here's Loki getting to know what happens to him, and he's kind of tearing up, but he really doesn't cry, he doesn't get that choked up, you know, and I don't know. I felt like them focusing on him being responsible for killing his mother,
oh God.
They kind of rested a little bit too much on that and not the really impactful relationship, which was
you gave
him
your
and Loki,
life.
or him and Thor.
Yeah, you gave your life for your brother and for Asgard.
Right.
You know.
Because Loki and Freya is not the relationship that they anchor in those movies. It's Loki and Thor.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Because they really only anchored the Loki and Freya in that movie, which is...
That was Dark World.
Was it Dark World?
Yeah.
So they really only anchored that relationship in that movie.
Right.
You know, and so we kind of understand, but of course she dies at the end of that movie, so it's like that's the relationship.
Right.
You know, but we also know that Odin cares about him.
Right.
You know, he just feels like he can't ever be better than Thor in Odin's eyes. Yeah. Which is a whole nother thing. But like,
I just feel like it never quite hit the emotional impact that it had the promise of hitting.
I also feel like you expect too much.
That's probably fair. I just, thinking back on the relationship that him and Thor have, and they show clips of it, but they just don't show the right clips and spend enough time with the him and Thor thing. Like, basically, it feels like you never really see Thor's face except for the "I wish you were here right now, brother," and he catches it and yeah, I'm here.
I think you also have to realize, because this is something that I had to do, is this is 2012 Loki. This is not 2025 Loki.
Right.
You know, this is 2012 Loki, where he doesn't have this relationship with his brother. He doesn't have this relationship with the rest of his family. You know, his mother is still alive. Odin is still alive.
Right.
Thor is still alive and has both of his eyes. You know, like he's, for all he knows, everybody else's life is all hunky-dory, and he's the only one who feels like he needs to prove himself.
Right.
So I think that they showed the moments that would impact 2012 Loki and not necessarily us who
have all the
are from Endgame.
Yeah.
Which is the last time, or Infinity War? Or Endgame?
What do you mean?
The last time we see him.
Infinity War, but...
It's same.
You know, like, all of the emotional weight of everything culminates, is where we're at with all of this, but then...
Right, and I think that you just expected it to hit you instead of hitting Loki.
That's fair. It's just, I don't know.
Because I had to remind myself a lot where I was just like, why is he such a dick? You know? Like, why is he doing all of this? And I was like, oh, he's 2012 Loki and not 2023 or 2024 Loki, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah, whenever the end of an Endgame ends up taking place in
Infinity War. Not the end of Endgame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's all one movie for me. That's like all one movie.
Yeah. I guess we can finish up with the Bad Batch if you don't have any other thoughts on the Loki show. Because I mean, like I said, it's only one episode, and whatever
I think
problems
it's got
I
potential.
have, it looks like it could be very good. It's just the beginning doesn't have me quite as hooked as the other two did. You know?
Yeah, I also think that we need to take it in perspective of, WandaVision was the first time that we ever really got to know a lot about Wanda.
Right.
And the same thing for
Sam.
For Sam. But now we know a lot about Loki already.
Right.
From him being the villain to him being a supporting character to him being,
kind of sort of a hero, So now it's not more of the backstory of Loki. This is a completely new... This is the evolution of him in a different way.
Right. So I think that each of those shows is done in a way that gets across the point that they're trying to get across.
Right.
Which is why, I have to almost hesitate when I try to compare it to something like WandaVision or Captain and the Winter Soldier, just because, we are not going to get the same feel from each of them, and that's not the point.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's all about having the correct perspective in this situation. But, yeah. So do you want to finish with the Bad Batch?
Yeah. Omega has my heart, my entire heart. I love her. I would die for her.
I found that I enjoy the Bad Batch so much because they just do so many distilled Star Wars things, but with an interesting overarching, we're in a time period that we don't really get to spend a whole lot of time in, and we have experiences with it, Rebels takes place a significant amount of time after the...
we actually meet Kanan Jarrus in Bad Batch.
Right,
he's the Padawan that is saved in the first episode.
Yeah, we see the Depa Billaba clone organization, or clone battalion.
Company,
kill her, and Kanan Jarrus his essential, the origin story of why all of that stuff happened to him.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
I would love to see a little, thing about him. About how he got to live.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
And how he met Hera and the whole gang.
Yeah.
Apparently they're also doing stuff with Rebels as well. Because they've got... what's his face?
Fairly certain that the Ahsoka TV show will address it, and more of The Mandalorian will be dedicated to what happens in Rebels.
Okay. Which I think that was a really good show too.
Right.
I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
I still hate whatever that fucking kid's name is. I hate his nose. What's the kid's name?
The main kid? The Jedi kid?
Yeah.
Ezra Bridger.
Yeah, Ezra.
Yeah.
I kind of still hate him.
I'm assuming I'm gonna like him more when we see him in something else. But it kind of that show is what it is. But it's why I like the Bad Batch a lot more, is because I feel like we are, number one, following really interesting characters, and we get to spend a lot of time with them in very interesting situations.
Yeah, we get to see Echo again.
Right, Echo is amazing to see. The episode,
we just saw Rex.
Rex was cool. I mean, granted, we see Rex, it seems like in everything now, but having Rex interact with the Bad Batch after Order 66, and you see
after Ahsoka.
Yeah, but and they're like, hey.
Oh, are we not going to address
What?
I don't remember their name either. You just keep talking.
Okay.
I'm gonna. Can I have my mouse?
Yeah. Sorry. Getting to see the interactions with all of the Bad Batch with trying to become regular citizens, and like I was saying with the time period, it's literally, you see Order 66 happen, and the time starts from there, and they continue on. And the only real time jump we've had was going into this previous episode where, they have done a couple of jobs.
I found it. Trace and Rafa.
Oh, Trace and Rafa show up from...
And how they're definitely sending shit to Ahsoka.
Right.
They're definitely sending shit to Ahsoka. Well, because
they sent Rex after them. Rex said at the beginning of the episode, when he finds them, he was like, Trace and Rafa sent me to you guys because they knew where to find you. Yeah.
Then they're definitely they send like messages to like a hooded figure, you know, as Star Wars does, you know, but like from Rebels and from Clone Wars we understand that Ahsoka is most likely the hooded figure that they're talking about.
Well, it definitely feels like we are getting the origin story of the Phoenix Squadron from Rebels.
Yeah.
Like we're watching it being formed as it's happening.
Yeah.
You know. And it's curious to me to see where all of this is going to end up.
Well, especially in Ahsoka. In the Ahsoka TV show, that's going to be...
Well, I'm curious to see if we end up seeing, like, hey, Hunter's going to be in a live-action show at some point. Or maybe Omega's going to show up in a live-action show or something.
Oh, I would love Omega to be there.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for what Omega's going to be.
I think we just have to wait for probably at least a season 2 of Bad Batch.
You think?
In order for that to be able to happen. Because I feel like that's not something you can introduce in a season 1 of Ahsoka's TV show. Mm-hmm. And that just be like, hey, this thing from this other TV show that's only had 1 season is now in this TV show that's in its first season currently. So, like, here you go. But
yeah.
What?
What?
What is that?
Space.
Why'd you look up space?
I'm making changes to my laptop. I'm feeling, it's a tardigrade.
Okay.
On the moon.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts? I feel like we've kind of hit the end of this.
I feel like it was.
Yeah.
I feel like it's good. A lot of stuff has happened since we last made a podcast.
Yeah. And I definitely would like to stop making this a yearly thing.
Yeah. And I think that we'll probably like approach more topics to talk about too.
Yeah, I think when we get more things to talk about, like we didn't even talk about My Hero in any way.
Yeah, that'll probably be a whole episode.
I think once we get, we're
pretty far.
Yeah, when we stop, I feel like we're gonna go watch My Hero.
Yeah.
I would like to do that if you, just in general, because we watched it together, but the first My Hero Academia movie.
Yeah.
But you enjoyed that a lot, right?
No, I love it. Yeah, no,
yeah.
My Hero is definitely...
Yeah, so as soon as we get through up to season 5, which is what they're at now, I'm assuming we'll do a whole wraparound, and I'll probably have notes, because I feel like that one is one that I really want to deep dive on. And also, I'm super fucking excited. The next podcast we're going to have to do is going to have to be about E3, because E3 is this weekend! Woohoo!
When?
The Xbox press conference is on Sunday.
Oh, if anybody knows of where they're selling PS5s.
Oh yeah, hit me up, please God.
Also, we were listening to the old podcasts.
Yeah.
And we finally did get a Switch.
I was gonna say I was listening to that podcast and we were talking about getting a Switch and I was like, wow, this is weird.
Yeah, we finally got a Switch. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I play the shit out of it more than Mitchell does, and especially since his PS4
Smash Brothers
dies.
says otherwise.
Okay, I'm sorry. Over like the average of how.
No, to be fair, you do play it more than I do.
I've completed Odyssey like basically twice at this point.
Yeah, that's some shit.
And I completed Link's Awakening in like 4 days.
Turns out, last time we were talking about getting a Switch and playing video games, she was kind of the one that didn't really want to play video games. Turns out she's now a goddamn completionist.
I've always been a completionist.
I know, but I didn't expect it to be the way that it is now. So.
I started my own file on Donkey Kong.
Did you?
Yeah, also we should play with Funky Kong, because we don't need like Dixie or Diddy or Cranky.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So I say you can play on my file because like.
Well, I'll play on mine and just play Funky Kong the entire time.
Well, that's what I made.
Yeah. No, I mean like on my name on the.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why do they have the fucking, this is the COVID-19 disease in space. And it says sickness from space.
SETI Institute?
I'm not even going to click on it. It's not even worth my time right now.
Yeah, fuck that useless shit. But I guess...
They might actually be someone.
Fair enough. I guess to close.
Be someone.
Next podcast, we'll probably do it next week. Because we're going to have My Hero and video games. The classic podcast segment, video games.
Video games.
So in closing, appreciate you for listening to this. I don't know how long it has been yet. It's been over an hour, but I'm not exactly sure. So
I think it's been like an hour and a
Something like that.
Yeah.
So appreciate you for listening. Hope you'll come back. Hopefully we'll have another one for you in relatively quick fashion.
Hopefully when Mitchell edits this, it's actually funny. Like, hopefully you have funny edits.
No promises. Yeah, so thank you. We'll talk to you later.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Can you feel
The love tonight? The peace